good day and welcome back. Well, recently I was reading an online discussion about the Smith Corona 5 series typewriter, specifically about does the touch control actually affect a difference in the way the typewriter feels? And that's an interesting question, so I thought I would go over all of the things that affect how hard the keys feel in a Smith Corona 5 series, and if you're having to work on it, clean it and degrease it, where are those specific areas that you want to focus on to help make the typewriter type a little easier? Stay tuned. Okay, in the presentation, you're going to see a legend in the upper right corner. So any of the steps that are green indicates that that part needs to be cleaned, lubed, or degreased. The blue section is it's a user adjustment, and the red section, it is a bending or reforming adjustment. So when you operate the type bar, you press the key lever down. The key lever rides in the slot of the guide comb. So as you operate a key, the key lever slides up and down in the slots of the comb. And the guide comb slots need to be very clean. So this is a common source of particles and dust and grime getting in here. You need to dust off, clean, degrease these slots very thoroughly. But also the key levers themselves can be bent through operator malfunction, and the bending of the key levers will cause them to hang up in these slots, and it might cause additional resistance to operating the keys. So make sure they're not bent as well. You might have to straighten them out. The key lever mechanism rotates in the key link Fulcrum rod comb, and this comb are these series of small slots here, right here. Each of those has some really tight crevices, and you need to clean and degrease all the residue and gunk out of these slots. And also this comb is like a tube with slots machined in it, and you need to make sure there's no residue inside the tube, inside all this whole comb area. It's right in front of the silver ribbon universal bar itself. So then the key lever mechanism will push on the ribbon universal bar. So here is the ribbon universal bar, this silver bar. It is pushed by each key lever in turn. It has a pivot point in both the left and right end. The pivot point up here needs to be cleaned and degreased properly so that the universal bar will move freely. The universal bar operates two different systems, both of which will offer resistance to the keys. And so it's important that both of these things are clean, degreased, and properly checked. So one of these is the touch selector itself. So the touch selector operates this spring here, and it will cause a variable degree of tension on this spring, which in turn puts a variable degree of tension on the universal bar up here. The range of how far the touch selector will go can be controlled by reforming the ribbon universal bar arm on its left side. Now, in the Smith Corona 5 series typewriter repair Bible, in the touch section of that Bible, there are 5 different adjustment procedures specifically for adjusting the touch of the machine. And this is adjustment number 2, the ribbon universal bar adjustment. Now, adjustment number 2 for the touch is to take this bar here, this arm that comes off the ribbon universal bar, and to bend it either up or down, forward or back a little bit to affect a little bit more or a little bit less tension on this spring. You're basically changing the range upon which the spring acts on the universal bar. So then the other system that the universal bar affects is the ribbon vibrator area. So next, as the ribbon universal bar moves, it pulls on this ribbon vibrator linkage, and there is a spring right here that it's operating, which is right at the tip of my pencil here. And this little vertical arm that the spring is attached to, you can bend this linkage forward or backwards slightly to affect how much force the vibrator system is putting on the keys as you type. This is adjustment number 5 of the touch adjustment in the 5 series Smith Corona typewriter repair Bible. There are some sliding parts in the Bichrome section of the typewriter that can cause friction and can cause resistance to typing. And so you need to clean and degrease the Bichrome Selector parts, the parts that slide against each other. These linkages that move as you're typing to lift the ribbon, these sliding plates need to be cleaned and degreased and even slightly lubricated with some light oil, because they will cause some resistance to the typing if they are stiff. And this shaft rotates and it will actually perform the ribbon lift on the ribbon vibrator. So the ribbon lift itself is a common source of resistance to the typing action. The force required to lift the ribbon comes from operating the keys. So whenever you have a lot of gunk and old grease, old hardened ink or whatever on these ribbon lift parts, it's going to affect the touch. So make sure you clean and degrease thoroughly all the ribbon lift parts, and that will help out the touch. So the user operates the key lever, and that operates the sub-lever link. And the sub-lever link is pulled on by a sub-lever spring. There is an adjustment for the key lever spring bar. This is the key lever spring bar right here, this black bar. All of the key lever springs are attached to it, and its height can be adjusted up and down to increase or decrease the tension of all the keys at once. So adjustment number one for the touch involves the key lever spring bar, and you first loosen this locking screw. And then there will be an adjustment screw on both the left and the right side, and you want to adjust these evenly on both sides. If you pull the spring bar up further, it will increase the spring tension and increase the hardness of the touch, whereas if you lower the spring bar down, it will cause the touch to lighten up a little bit. The sublever link operates the sublever assembly, and the sublever assembly pivots in the sublever segment. So these sublever links will then pull on each sublever assembly right here. And these sublevers will ride in the slots of the sublever segment. This curved casting on the bottom of the machine is the sublever segment. Each sublever rotates in it with a fulcrum rod. This all needs to be cleaned and degreased just as you would with the main segment. The end of the sublever segment has a connection to the type bar link. These are the other ends of that same sub-lever itself. And each of these sub-levers has a rotating joint that connects to the type bar link. So these little round joints need to be cleaned and degreased. They can be a source of binding and stiffness. And also, if they get bent, because they are very close to the other linkages, make sure they're not rubbing. And the other end of the type bar link has the Clevis connection that connects to each type bar itself. And those sublever assemblies pull on each of the type bar links. These flat black little rods are each a type bar link. And they have at the bottom of them, they have these Clevis joints. And these Clevis joints can come loose. They're spring-loaded. You can put them back together with a thin flat blade screwdriver. You can spread them apart. So you need to clean and degrease these Clevis joints. They can become stiff. And also, as you're looking here, you can see the slots in the main segment, the backside slot. These also all need to be cleaned and degreased. We'll get to that in a minute. But another problem that can happen here is these Clevis joints that border on each other, they're really close together. If these are bent, if the type bars are bent slightly, you can have them rubbing, the Clevis joints rubbing. So one of the adjustments you might have to do is to bend or reform these so these Clevis joints are not rubbing together. That can be a cause of stiffness in the typing action. So now the type bar rotates in the segment on the fulcrum rod. These are very crucial. These are a common cause of problems with typewriters with their touch and with sticky type bars. They get a lot of ink, dust, eraser shavings, all kinds of residue falls down into here. So you need to thoroughly clean and degrease these slots and all the surfaces of the type bars themselves that are pivoting in the slot. And also underneath where the clevises are, where they join to them, all of those slots and surfaces need to be thoroughly cleaned and degreased in order for these to be reliable. You will also find individual type bars are sometimes bent, and they will be hitting or rubbing on the sides of the type guide. And so you want to make sure that each type bar goes in the type guide evenly in the middle and doesn't rub on either side. If it does, you probably will see it in terms of a misaligned printing on the type line. It won't be straight. So the type bar is rotating in the segment, and it has a cam on the back of each type bar. And as you type, the cam pushes on the type bar universal rocker, which is this bar you see moving right here as you're typing. There is a pivot point for that rocker right here. You need to make sure that this pivot point is cleaned and degreased and slightly lubricated so that this rocker pivots freely. Otherwise, this will be a source of resistance to the typing action. So the universal type bar rocker also operates via this arm and this linkage. It operates the ribbon feed system. So if the ribbon rotation, ribbon feed system is gummed up and not working properly, it will cause increased tension on the keys, on the touch of the typewriter. Now there is an adjustment. If you've already degreased properly and lubricated the ribbon feed system, there is an adjustment. It's number 3 in the touch section part of the Typewriter Repair Bible. This spring right here is the ribbon feed linkage spring, and you can increase or decrease the tension of this spring by slightly bending, reforming this arm right here. And that will affect how much back tension the ribbon drive system gives to the typing action. Okay, the type bar universal rocker moves as you type, and then that in turn moves the escapement gang trip. And that escapement gang trip rubs right along some other parts, and so this is another source of resistance. You need to clean and degrease and even put a little bit of lubrication on this linkage so that it can move smoothly. And then adjustment number 4 in the touch section is the escapement rocker itself. You can adjust this slightly, the angle of the escape rocker, to fine-tune the touch of the machine. So you can affect the escapement spring tension by bending this arm right here. This is the escapement spring. Bending this angle here changes how much spring tension is being felt by the escapement gang trip. And I should also point out this long skinny arm here is the escapement trip point itself. You don't want to bend this unless you're changing the escapement trip point. It should trip where the type bar is about a ½ inch from the platen. But this angle here affects how much this spring pressure affects the gang trip itself, which in turn is felt in the touch of the machine. Well, I hope this helps you to understand the whole type bar linkage system on the 5 Series Smith Corona manual typewriters, and might help point you toward where you need to focus on for cleaning and degreasing your typewriter to help make the touch as light and smooth as possible with these machines. And of course, all of this is because we like to use typewriters to type with and to create with, and I wish you the very best in your writing. And as always, stay creative and have yourselves a great day. Bye-bye for now.